Hello and welcome to the channel. It's the Eradicator, and today is a big day because it marks the long anticipated review of Star Citizen of 3.15. This is a video that a lot of you have been requesting. I got a lot of message from people asking when the review will be coming, and I wanted to make sure I played the patch long enough to be able to properly emit a fair judgment of all of its features, game-changing elements, overall quality, quality of life improvements, added content, bug fixes, and overall fun factor. Now, note that I have decided to replace the punctuality criteria with the latter because, let's face it, although delays suck, we will all rather have a somewhat playable delayed patch in our hands than a broken mess released on time. I also feel that talking about how much fun the game is reflects how the game plays much better than the frustrated rant, so here's why I am making this change. And so, without further ado, let's get this review started with our first category, bug fixes. Let's be honest, Star Citizen will always be bugged due to its very nature. It is up to CIG to reduce the amount of bugs to an acceptable level by the time a new patch goes live, which is something that they always try to do with more or less success. With 3.15 adding a ton of game-changing elements that we are going to talk about later, CIG spent a lot of time polishing these new features in order to provide us, the players, with a somewhat playable experience. One of the most frustrating and hilarious bugs of the 3.15 PTU cycle were the random deaths, which sometimes could have been caused by the wind or the player character just not being able to stand on its own. And while this seems to have been fixed mostly on my end, except for the mole elevator, it seems that some players are still experiencing such unfortunate demises, and if this is happening to you, please let me know in the comment section down below. A lot was also done to improve the overall FPS missions, with an effort made to reduce the chances of players accidentally getting crime stats when doing those missions, and this is wonderful because no one likes to go to prison for something that they did not intend to do. Speaking of prisons, inmates will now be able to deposit their gems in a deposit box without getting an error message. This was a bug that was over a year old, and it should encourage more players to serve their time in Glaciers Rehabilitation Center instead of quitting the game. Now, two other bugs that could have made people rage quit were also squashed. The first one was players not getting paid after healing an incapacitated player, and the second one being the bug that would delete your inventory after trying an item. And sure, there are still a lot of issues left, but a lot of those are server related, and there's nothing the developers can do until server meshing comes online to fix those. I really believe that the devs did their best here, and it was not an easy task given how messy the PTU was at some point, which is why I'll give them a 7 out of 10. Let's talk about quality of life now, and this part is huge because CIG gave one of the most demanded improvements of this IFAS cycle in the form of the 30k error fix. Over the past couple of years, tens of thousands of traders lost hundreds of billions of alpha UEC because of server crashes and the database's inability to retrieve the lost data following the server crash. This fix was made possible thanks to iCache being fully operational now, the very same tech that allows players to persist too. This is a huge step towards the right direction that will also most likely allow 3.15 to retain a large part of its player base throughout its life cycle, and for that alone, this bot deserves a 10 out of 10. Talking about game-changing elements now, and Star Citizen Alpha 3.15 is perhaps the biggest patch we've had since Star Citizen Alpha 3.0 and the introduction of Planet Tech. The beginning of Death of a Spaceman really alters the way gameplay is now approached due to the possibility of players losing their personal inventory, forcing them to carefully plan their every move around the verse. That same new inventory system now forces players to manage their assets too. Gone are the days where you could have access to all of your ships, weapons, or food and drinks whenever you needed them. Now you will have to be at the location where you store them in order to get access to them. And sure, it is a hassle like it is in real life, but it also allows for looting, as players can now take the inventory of a down player or NPC and secure it by storing it at the landing zone where they will be able to use it or sell it to another player or NPC in the future. This is gameplay that we have been asking for years. Finally, it is here, 10 out of 10. Let's talk about the overall quality of Star Citizen v 3.15 now, and when Star Citizen v 3.15 works as intended, it provides players with an amazing experience. However, when it doesn't, due to poor server performance or simply due to a lack of polishing expected in an alpha phase, it can also be extremely frustrating. Windstorms can still blow your ship away, and you can still fall off stairs and die as previously mentioned. Or your ship can despawn all of a sudden, leaving you stranded. And on top of that, I also noticed some serious mission issues when playing on my own. For example, when being interdicted, you can get insta-shot by a missile that comes out of nowhere from an undetectable NPC. And it is especially not nice when you are spending large sums of money in your cargo hold and you are losing it for something that should not happen. I also noticed that sometimes the back door of the cutlass, for example, would not open, which will also leave you stranded. And I really hope that the ladder will be added when you go through its gold standard transformation. And last but not least, NPCs don't always spawn, preventing you from completing bunker missions. Originally, I wanted to give it a 3 out of 10, but unfortunately, 3.15.1 has not fixed most of the issues that were plaguing the 3.15 live builds, so we're going for a lower score of 2 out of 10 for overall quality. And surely, we could have gotten better here, and I hope that it will improve when finally server meshing kicks in. Added content! A ton of new content was added in Star Citizen 3.15, the most that we've had in years in the patch actually. There was definitely no need for roadmap padding this time. In fact, there could have been more cards, like the Hurston Dynamics or RSI armor sets, or the Microtech volumetric clouds. This category's score falls short of a perfect 10 due to the fact that we don't have any new planets or landing zones to explore, but that will happen when 4.0 hits the live servers for sure. It gets a 9 out of 10. We'll talk about features now, and the first part of the features is about characters. And I'm really surprised that there was no card on the roadmap for characters, as clearly new armor sets were created for this patch. The new RSI Extreme Environment suit is quite an upgrade from the older Permgrove undersuit, and the new set we got for CitizenCon is absolutely delightful. And we also have a genuinely menacing new set of armor from Hurston Dynamics available at Lorville, and special items that can be looted only. A lot of efforts were made to diversify the looks of our characters in the verse with those equipment, and so it gets a 7 out of 10. Locations! New locations in 3.15 are nowhere near as mind-blowing as in 3.14, but they add some value-added gameplay embodied by the new hospitals and clinics, which really feel believable and immersive, and the team in Montreal did an amazing job with those. Even Grimex feels believable with its crappy, gloomy hab surgery rooms. I'd never want to get healed there, but it does feel like it is indeed an option for criminals. We also have new locations on Horizon, such as the Crusader Industries Showcase, which is quite forgettable, or Cousins Crow, which is a spaceship customization workshop that I suspect will gain additional gameplay in the future. In the end, the stability of patch 3.15, let me do it again. In the end, the staple of patch 3.15 when it comes to the location remains the hospitals, which will then be joined in 3.15 and 3.17 by those in Area 18 and Lorville. Locations get a 7 out of 10. My diction here, my eloquence does not get a 7 out of 10 though. Moving on to AI, doctors and nurses were added to 3.15, and those are your typical non-interactable NPCs. Well, sure, they look nice, but that's about it. 2 out of 10. Gameplay, and this one is huge. iCache allowed for the implementation of the inventory system along with looting. It also allowed for the debut of the beginning of Death of a Spaceman. Reputation was extended to more professions like deliveries, and we now have new bunker missions that, thanks to the addition of NPC spawn closets. Medic is now also a profession in the verse with actual knowledge needed to be effective. 3.15 is simply revolutionary, and this is why it gets a 10 out of 10. The best part is that it's just the beginning. Ships. It's been a very long time since we've had so many new ships and vehicles in a single patch. The new 409 is surprisingly usable for an Origin ship. The Redeemer is a killer, both when played solo and with a crew. Crusader Industries expands its lineup with the Ares Starfighter, And we also have a ship from Argo, which is the Argo Rat, which will add more options for traders and will add future gameplay promises, as well as a new ground vehicle with the Anvil Spartan. Impressive. Most impressive. 10 out of 10. Weapons and tools. Alpha 3.15 comes with new guns made for the new vehicles. There's nothing impressive there, however. No new FPS weapon to report, no space crossbow either, and it gets a 5 out of 10. Let's finish with core tech. How is iCache being fully active not on the roadmap? It's making most of the new gameplay available, and also I think that CIG should communicate more about their code tech. Also, on top of that, I would also have added a card for the Microtech volumetric crowd, and they look really neat, right? And I think that all of that gets an 8 out of 10. Add it all up, and the features of Star Citizen Alpha 3.15 get a solid 7 out of 10. They revolutionized the game in many ways. Too bad that the AI didn't get much upgrades, as it lowered the overall score here. And finally, let's talk about the patch's fun factor, and I think that it is very high. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but as I'm making this video, I am more excited about playing 3.15 than Forza Horizon 5 or Age of Empires 4, which are two other games that I really enjoy and I've been waiting for years for the latter. Star Citizen Alpha 3.15 finally gives me the impression that my progression matters and that my actions are meaningful, which is something backers have been anticipating for years. I love the risk versus reward mechanics and the fact that we can occasionally find lootables. After well over a year of dull patches, Star Citizen Alpha 3.15 makes me feel excited to play again, and this is priceless. I would have given a 10 out of 10, but the bugs that plague the overall experience lower the score to a solid 8 out of 10. And so, my final score for Star Citizen Alpha 3.15 is a whopping 7.5 out of 10, which is the best score I've given since I've started doing those reviews all the way back in 3.3. And sure, the bugs and server issues are really annoying and prevent the score from getting higher, but the patch adds so much more in terms of gameplay and vehicles that it revolutionizes the way that we play it, and it gets us a good step closer towards Chris Roberts' final vision. And with more key tech on the way like Quanta and server meshing, one could expect that the floodgates of content that have started to open won't shut down anytime soon unless a major problems happen in the latter stages of the development of server meshing. And that is all for the video here. Thank you so much for watching, but let me know in the comment section down below, do you agree with this review's verdict, or would you have given a different score? Also, you get a chance to win a beautiful Miss Prospector thanks to Abdadun. All you have to do is to answer the question and subscribe in public settings to the channel. Also, those of you who are in my Discord channel via Patreon and the Join Button membership will have a chance to get to win a Retaliator and an Argo cargo thanks to Dr. Forbin and Admiral Gruffus. I will see you guys tomorrow for more content on the channel. This is the Eradicator. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys later. A huge shout out to everyone who's been helping me out on Patreon and via the YouTube Join membership program. Creating content on YouTube involves continuous circles of ups and downs, and it is when we are the lower parts of the curve that your help really motivates me to keep on going. Your contribution really does make a difference, which is why in return I try to give back by offering backers access to my private Discord channel, automatic access to exclusive giveaways, or answering your questions during the show. You can help me out with as little as $1 a month, and any help is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching again. This is the Eradicator. I'll see you guys later.